Today we're going to be revealing and showing the God Paragon board. What am I talking about? How can you double your damage by swapping to this board? What builds do it apply to? All of them. Literally all of them. The only exception maybe Thorns, because I have not played Thorns yet. It's questionable. However, based on my plans for making Thorns, which is going to be my next build, I believe it's going to be just as strong with only a few glyph swaps. So what does the board look like? I do have the board currently in my most recent upload of the Devil's Upheaval Season 2 Barbarian build. Now, like I said, let's kind of zoom out. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's zoom out as much as we can here. This is what the God board looks like. It's only 5 glyphs. Now you might be thinking, Murder, how could you possibly be doubling your damage with only 5 glyphs? I'm glad you asked. The number one mistake that I've seen so many build guide people making is they're seeing that there's 75 strength nodes on the Carnage tree. Why is this a big deal? Because this is where the berserking damage is. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, ire is our best glyph, so if I can get 5 more strength for, where is it? For the additional bonus to berserking damage, which is of course multiplicative in our best stat, why would I not put it there? The answer is might is better, or ambidextrous if you're using one-handers, or martial if you want to do that as well, because you are gaining about 10 to 15% more berserking damage by giving the bonus to the magic nodes, which are berserking damage, and berserking damage, over having that additional 5 strength. You're only losing 5 strength because, again, where I have this in the bone breaker section, it's only 70. So that's the first major mistake I saw a lot of people doing in their build guides. And the second thing here is going to be, this is going to depend on the build for sure. Not every build needs Fury on kill, so I kind of put in here as a filler section here. I mean, this is a pretty big filler, I'm not going to lie, but this is a lot of points. So if you don't need this, your damage is going to be even higher. So now that I've showed you this board and everything it takes, we have the decimator node, of course, here. For Whirlwind, this would be different. Obviously, you wouldn't be taking Carnage because attack speed, hello, you don't need that. But everything else is going to be applicable. You're just going to have additional points that you can put into resistance, like you see here. You don't really need more damage, especially with the current state of Barbarians. Maybe that will change down the line. If you want to go for vulnerable damage, I don't know why you would, but if you want to, you can always do this if you're using a slashing weapon. I know there's the overpower damage and two-handed bludgeoning weapon you can go to easily if you drop this section up here, as well as the Carnage node if you don't need it. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about what you could do with this. I'm going to show you the results so far. So now I want to give a huge shout out to DK from Discord. He's someone that I saw that were asking about Paragon boards, and he was doing some data comparing all of the Paragon boards to each other. And I said, you know what? I just spent hours making this new one. Let's see if it even works, since he's obviously taken other content creators' boards and he's compared them. And this was his results here. So Devil's board is what he was calling my board because it was from the Devil's Upheaval build. But again, it's for all builds. And he found out pretty quickly that this build was a pumper. So you can see the numbers here, 95 million, 133 million, 120, 122. There's going to be variance in overpower depending on if you're berserking or not, if you crit the overpower, what your critical strike damage scaling is, if you have a grandfather or not. There are so many factors, but what we're really looking for here are the averages, and he used the same gear for all of these tests here. So as we can see, this is the swing for the Devil's board that I made. This was Rob's. I don't know which Paragon boards he's taking from these other creators, being Rob and Dalcora. I really don't know. I know Rob's was significantly behind. Dalcora's wasn't as behind, but the higher end peaks were, I mean, it depends if you consider 30 million damage to be a lot or not, but it kind of is a lot, especially when the peak here is 107 and the peak here is 140. Even looking at the lows, I'm not sure what Rob and Dalcora are doing to buff up their bottom end, which you would never really do anyways, because you should always be berserking, which means the numbers will always be 90 to 100 million, as we see from these boards. I don't know why Rob's numbers are so low. This is kind of weird that he missed so many things. Maybe he's, I don't know, I can't really speculate on that, but the fact that he got these results doing the same rotation in the same exact build, by the way, it's a Deathblow build. He did the same skills, everything the same, just changed the Paragon board. These are the numbers he got, and I mean, Dalcora's is close at 107, but I don't know how Rob's is a third of what it can be, which means if you're following a Rob build, just change the board and you're going to triple your damage. That easy. Triple, I mean, assuming you're using overpower, of course, but you will just triple your damage. So I'm glad all of the work I spent on making this board actually worked out. I was hesitant at first because, again, we are only using 5 glyphs. But with the recent changes, if you think about it, and this is kind of what led me to do this, legendary nodes are much stronger now. Glyphs are much weaker than they were before. We got some good buffs. The Twister glyph was good. The Rumble one is good if you can apply it. But outside of Ire, which gives us straight multiplicative damage, there's no more exploit giving multiplicative vulnerable damage. There's no more, what's that one called? Wrath giving multiplicative crit damage. You don't need those anymore. It's just additive damage. And who cares about additive damage, right? You don't need that. And Fury, if you're having struggles with Fury in any build during this season, it's a build issue because Fury's non-existent issue right now. That was completely solved because no build should really be running Unbridled Rage. I mean, you can, but that's not for me to say, obviously, but there are just many, many strong options. I can make a video on that too, on how you can even run a shout build without these shout aspects. You only need one kind of sleeper OP aspect that I haven't seen anyone talking about. So I'll probably make a video on that as well, on how to have permanent rage all the time, like literally all the time. So that's going to be, I mean, I'll just show you the glyphs I'm using for this specific build here. We have Exploit, we have Might, we have Crusher, which is overpowered damage. You can swap that for anything you want. Territorial, again, you can swap that for anything you want. And then Ire, the only one that you kind of need here. So there's a lot of flexibility with this. If you want to add another board, you're going to have to figure out where you can take from this Paragon board. As far as the setup of this, do I think this is the best Paragon setup in the entire game? No, I don't. I think this is the current best there is right now, just based on the tests I've done. Obviously, DK has done, and I've sent it to a few more people just to confirm that the damage increase is real, and it is real. But I'm fairly certain once this gets circulated enough, people will start making this board better as a baseline because, again, I think this is the current best baseline board in the game for Barbarians, but it can be better, right? I didn't spend 50 hours on this like I did in Season 1 and in preseason to find those like best boards. This was like, I don't know, 8, 9 hours maybe not even that much. I want to say 6 again. But there's a lot of time required to min-max a board like this. Lots of trial and error on these websites, of course, and then once you make it on a website, you actually have to go in-game and make sure it works. That's the hard part, especially when I have to manually deselect all of the Paragon nodes, which is a separate topic for sure. So that's going to conclude this video. If you don't currently have this Paragon board, add it, your damage will simply go up. Unless you are using one that looks like this. I don't know every single content creator. As DK mentioned, he just used Rob and Dalcora's from whatever build. I probably should have found out which build, but if it doesn't look like this, it's going to be a damage increase. And if you want to check this out, I will have the build planner to this build in the comment section. Even though this isn't a build video, you can just head to the Paragon board and have a look at it for yourself and see what you can do to tailor it to whatever build you are currently using. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. Really quick on updating a massive damage increase for 99% of players. If you enjoy this content, smash the like button, subscribe to the notification bell, and I will see you when I release my Thorns Barbarian guide. I'm touching that build for the first time ever in Diablo 4. Didn't do it in preseason, didn't do it in Season 1, I just don't like Thorns, but I do believe Thorns could be the, not the best, but maybe tied with another build for the best build in Season 2. It's possible. I have to figure it out. I have a few ideas on how this is going to come true, but it could also fail, so don't quote me on it just yet, but I look forward to diving into that next. So until next time, peace out.